Hey, what's up you guys, it's Connor, and today I'm going to be doing a book review for Deadweather and Sunrise by something, Geoff Rodkey. This is a first book in a middle grade series that follows a character named Egbert who lives on an island called Deadweather, and it's an island that has a bunch of pirates living on it, and his father owns kind of an orchard where they grow fruit trees, and it's a bunch of the pirates' job to help them pick the fruit when the pirates lose too many limbs to be helpful on a ship. And Deadweather is right next to an island called Sunrise, and Sunrise is beautiful. A ton of rich people live there. It is the creme de la creme of islands, and it's just fantastic. Egbert, also known as Egg, ends up going with his family to Sunrise and gets separated from his family and then goes on a crazy adventure that he did not expect to go on at all. I've started making pros and cons lists while I'm reading books because I think that's just an easier way to do book reviews, so I'm just going to go through the cons and then I'll go through the pros and then give you my rating. So the first thing that I didn't appreciate too much was that there's a lot of inconsistent characterization. There's some characters that are fully developed and they're normal characters and I understand their motivations and everything, and then there's other characters that are just super flat and they have the opinions that they have and they don't change, and it's just kind of like, why is this character so well developed and this one is really not? So there was two different sides to that coin. Like, the main character, Egg, is really well developed, but a lot of the characters surrounding him, like his siblings and the main girl within the adventure, this girl, Millicent, she's just so flat and boring to read about. So like, it wasn't my favorite. While reading it, I had a lot of, like, kind of a disconnect with it. I didn't really feel too much for the characters. I didn't really feel for Egbert too much. I didn't really care about him at all. So I just felt like I was a third-party person in the story, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. All right, let's go. The end. I felt like this story was kind of all over the place. Egg ends up going all over the place. He bounces around from island to island, place to place, and you don't really have too much development within each section of the world that he ends up visiting. It's just like, oh, here's a little bit description of this place. Okay, now we're moving on. So it would have been nice to get some in-depth description for different places, but that's not how the story was. And the last thing I will say is that the ending wasn't that satisfying. There wasn't really a conflict that was resolved. It kind of was just kind of put on pause. So there was nothing resolved in this story at all. It was literally just like, okay, we'll deal with it later, end of book. Some things that I did like about the story: I did like Egbert. He was a smart character. I liked him a lot. I think he made good decisions most of the time, and I enjoyed reading about him. So I really liked the main character, and some of the secondary characters were pretty interesting to read about. I really liked what's his face? I really liked this character named Guts. He was kind of a comic relief character because some of the things that are talked about in this book are kind of a little bit heavy. So not really heavy though, but just a little bit. And so Guts makes you smile and makes you have a good time. This book was a really, really quick read. I flew through it. It was so fast. I read it in, I think, like, I started it at like 10 p.m. and then I finished it in the morning at like 8 a.m. So it was super fast. It took me no time at all. So I didn't feel like I wasted any time. Yeah, it was just really fast. I really enjoyed that. I like the setup of the world, and I like the idea of this world. So basically there's these two islands, and there's some other islands around, but they're not as big and they're not as prominent in the story as Deadweather and Sunrise. And they're kind of off the coast of the mainland and pretty far too, and they're kind of removed from what is happening on the mainland. So they kind of have their own rules and they don't really have to follow law too much. So I thought that was really interesting, and I thought the fact that there was all these pirates were pretty cool, and there's a promise for a native group of people that are going to come up in later books. So I'm really interested to see how the natives will play within this story in the coming books and such. I also think that because there wasn't that much development, that there's going to be some magic that happens in this book, so I'm curious to see how the magic will play out in the future books. There wasn't too much magic in this one. I don't know if there was any, now that I'm thinking about it, but I think there's going to be magic in the future ones. So don't hold me to that, because I haven't read them, but I think there will be. So overall, I ended up giving this book a 4 stars. It was kind of a weak 4 stars, more like a 3.75 or a 3.5, but I did really like it, so I ended up giving it a 4 stars. It was very classically written, so I think that's kind of what caused my disconnect from the story somewhat, but I did enjoy it. It kind of reminded me of Peter Pan, so if you're a fan of really classically told children's stories, I think you'll really like this book. And if you like a story that has some pirates and some witty, funny characters, as well as some adventure, I think this book would be very good for you to read. So that's my review on Deadweather and Sunrise. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and comment down below anything you want. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.